The crisp autumn morning in Beijing carried a gentle chill, yet the atmosphere outside the bustling entertainment district felt entirely electric. Fans had gathered by the hundreds behind barricades, their vibrant banners snapping in the wind, all whispering about a rumor that had turned the internet upside down overnight. Social media feeds were absolute chaos, crashing servers across multiple platforms as millions of notifications pinged simultaneously. Zhang, Linghe and Tian Xiwei, two of the most beloved stars of their generation, were about to step out and address the world together. For years, the public had watched their undeniable chemistry blossom, first on screen and later through stolen glances shared during high-profile award ceremonies. Every time they appeared in the same room, hashtags would trend globally for days, dissecting their body language, their shared laughter, and the way their eyes lingered just a fraction longer than necessary. Viewers had fallen hopelessly in love with the idea of them as a couple, weaving intricate fan fiction and analyzing every single frame of their past collaborations. Yet, until this very moment, both actors had maintained a strictly professional facade, keeping their personal lives fiercely guarded behind a wall of PR statements. Behind the heavy velvet curtains of the private press conference room, the tension was palpable, though it was quickly giving way to bubbling excitement. Tian Xiwei stood before the tall mirror, smoothing down the fabric of her elegant white dress, which featured delicate floral embroidery that caught the studio lights. Her heart hammered against her ribs, a mixture of nervous anticipation and profound happiness making it difficult to breathe evenly. She took a deep, grounding breath, closing her eyes for a brief second to center herself before the biggest moment of her life. Just a few feet away, Zhang Ling was pacing the length of the green room, running a hand through his perfectly styled hair while checking his watch for the 100th time. He was dressed in a sharp, tailored navy suit that accentuated his tall frame, but his usual calm demeanor was replaced by a boyish, nervous grin. He kept glancing toward the door, waiting for the cue from their management team, his mind racing with the realization that everything was about to change. The era of speculation, of quiet dinners hidden behind tinted windows, and of secret phone calls late at night was finally coming to an end. When the heavy wooden doors finally clicked open, the stage manager gave them a reassuring nod, signaling that it was time to step into the blinding lights. Zhang Ling immediately walked over to Tian Xiwei, offering his arm with a gentle, protective grace that had become his trademark gesture. She looked up at him, meeting his warm gaze, and as their fingers intertwined, the nervous fluttering in their stomachs vanished completely. They knew that whatever lay ahead of them on the other side of that door, they were going to face it together, hand in hand. As they stepped out onto the brightly lit stage, a wall of camera shutters went off like a localized thunderstorm, bathing the room in a rapid succession of brilliant white flashes. The collective gasp from the gathered journalists and media personnel echoed against the walls, instantly followed by an overwhelming wave of camera clicks and murmurs of awe. They looked breathtaking together, the epitome of youthful elegance and undeniable grace, glowing under the heavy studio lamps. They walked slowly to the center of the stage, stopping before two sleek microphones adorned with white floral arrangements. Zhang Ling took the lead, stepping up to the microphone first, his deep voice carrying a quiet confidence that immediately commanded absolute silence in the room. He began by thanking the media for coming on such short notice and expressing his heartfelt gratitude to the fans who had supported him unconditionally throughout his career. His voice was steady, but anyone who knew him well could hear the faint, underlying tremor of pure emotion that gave away how much this moment truly meant to him. He spoke from the heart, avoiding the usual scripted PR jargon in favor of raw, genuine honesty that resonated deeply with everyone listening. Today, I wanted to share something deeply personal with all of you, Zhang Ling said, his gaze sweeping across the room before locking onto the cameras broadcasting his face to millions. For a long time, my life has belonged to my work, to the characters I play, and to the endless pursuit of my craft as an actor. But as time goes on, you realize that true happiness isn't found just in professional success, but in the person you share your quietest moments with. A soft murmur rippled through the audience as the gravity of his words began to sink in across the room. He turned his head slightly, his eyes softening into an expression of profound tenderness as he looked directly at the woman standing right beside him. Tian Xiwei met his gaze, a radiant, tearful smile blooming across her face as she realized the moment they had dreamed of for years was finally unfolding. The way he looked at her spoke volumes, stripping away all the fame, the flashing lights, and the expectations of the entertainment industry to reveal two people deeply and unconditionally in love. It was a look that made millions of hearts melt instantly, sealing their romance in the history books of modern pop culture. Stepping forward to her own microphone, Tian Xiwei took a shaky breath, her voice carrying a sweet, melodic warmth that captivated every single person in the room. She began by echoing Zhang Linghe's sentiments, expressing her immense gratitude for the unwavering love she had received from her supporters since day one. Stepping into the public eye means sharing so much of yourself with the world, but it also means protecting the things that matter most to your heart, she explained, her voice clear and resonant. Today, we want to invite you into that safe space because your support has always meant the world to us. With a sudden, graceful movement that sent a fresh wave of camera shutters into a frenzy, Zhang Ling reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. The room instantly fell into a pin-drop silence, the kind of quiet where you could practically hear the collective heartbeat of a million anxious fans watching through their screens. He turned completely to face Tian Xiwei, his expression turning intensely serious and filled with a raw, unfiltered vulnerability that left no room for doubt. Slowly, deliberately, he dropped to one knee on the polished wooden stage, holding the velvet box gently in his palms. A collective gasp echoed through the press room, followed immediately by sharp intakes of breath from reporters who realized they were witnessing entertainment history in real time. Tian Xiwei clutched her hands over her mouth, her eyes welling up with bright tears of joy as she looked down at the man kneeling before her. The world outside seemed to freeze completely, locking them inside a private universe of their own creation while millions of people watched from afar with bated breath. Zhang Ling clicked the velvet box open, revealing a breathtaking diamond ring that caught the stage lights and scattered 1,000 tiny rainbows across the stage. Xiwei, from the very first moment we worked together, you brought a light into my life that I never knew I was missing, Zhang Ling spoke, his voice thick with emotion but entirely clear. You've seen me at my best and at my absolute worst, and you've loved me through every single phase of this crazy journey. I want to spend the rest of my days making you laugh, protecting your happiness, and walking by your side through everything this life has to offer. He paused for a fraction of a second, letting the weight of his promise settle deep into her heart. Will you marry me? Tears streamed freely down Tian Xiwei's cheeks as she nodded vigorously, her voice breaking slightly with emotion as she answered the question the whole world was waiting for. Yes, she whispered, her voice filled with absolute certainty before speaking louder and clearer into the microphone. Yes, 1,000,000 times yes. Zhang Linghe's face broke into a brilliant, triumphant smile that reached his eyes, lighting up the entire room with infectious joy. He carefully slipped the sparkling ring onto her finger, standing up to pull her immediately into a warm, deeply emotional embrace. The press room erupted into a deafening roar of applause and cheers, the sheer magnitude of the moment breaking through the usual rigid professionalism of the media. Cameras flashed relentlessly, capturing every single angle of their tight embrace, the way their shoulders shook with happy laughter, and the glowing ring catching the studio lights. Across the globe, social media platforms experienced a literal explosion of joy as the video feed broadcasted the exact second she said yes. Hashtags celebrating their engagement shot to the #1 spot worldwide in a matter of seconds, shattering previous records for digital engagement. Back on stage, the couple finally pulled back from their embrace, though Zhang Ling kept his hand securely locked around Tian Xiwei's waist, refusing to let go even for a second. They turned back to face the cameras, holding up their intertwined hands to showcase the stunning ring resting neatly on her finger. They both laughed brightly, their previous nervousness entirely replaced by a carefree, triumphant happiness that radiated straight through the camera lenses. It was a picture-perfect scene straight out of a romance drama, yet it carried the beautiful, imperfect weight of real, genuine life. Within minutes, congratulatory messages from fellow actors, directors, and industry heavyweights began flooding the internet, turning the announcement into a massive national celebration. Production companies they had previously worked with posted throwback stills from their past dramas, celebrating the real-life fairy tale ending of their favorite on-screen pairings. Friends from the industry shared behind-the-scenes stories of how hard the couple had worked to keep their relationship steady amidst the relentless pressure of public scrutiny. The entertainment world united in a rare moment of pure, unadulterated joy, celebrating two people who had found love in the brightest spotlight imaginable. Outside the venue, the crowd of fans erupted into deafening cheers as the news flashed across the massive digital billboards overlooking the square. People were hugging total strangers, waving customized light sticks, and shedding happy tears as they chanted the couple's names in unison. Security guards smiled broadly, abandoning any strict enforcement of the usual crowd control rules as the atmosphere turned into an impromptu street festival. Food vendors nearby began handing out free treats to celebrating fans, creating a warm, communal spirit of shared celebration that stretched far down the avenue. As the press conference drew to a close,